Welcome to our lovely full moon messages for our ventral pivoting future humans, the 5D Collective. And if you did not tune in to our previous episodes, you might want to check them out later. But I'm going to start with something that I began, the smart practice, and integrated some storytelling, and I had some fun with y'all. So if you did tune into it, get ready to hear some repeat, but we're going to look at it from another angle, and I'm going to give you the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 so that you can write it all out. And for those of you who are new, I get to be the mystic mentor, content creator, and podcast host who lets you know when full moon, new moon, and ascension energies are about. We will be ascending if you are enlightening, and that means your soul's purpose is living through you as you also are living your real self, so personal growth. And so personal growth, spiritual growth, they come together, not confusing. At the end of the day, there are those aspects from one's own beginnings that you might be working with still. As somatic empaths, we heal. I said I heal, but we heal each other. But the reason we can heal each other is because we do understand that the relationships support us to grow ourselves. And so we maintain relational integrity. We don't collapse into a narrative. And so when someone says we all have to suffer and we say, no, we don't, that's a fallback loop for collapsed and overwhelmed nervous systems who don't know how to work with their nervous system under pressure. But we do, which is why our 5D collective moves into the 7D. And it's a beautiful visual I got. It was a couple weeks ago or so when I also had 2 commanders come visit me. I believe it was intergalactic beings, and they also gave me a nice visual of this beautiful tower, and it was a space tower. And then I also have my right now like multidimensional self. She came through. So there's a bunch of ascension spiritual mystical experiences which you might have also experienced as the full moon approached, because that's what typically happens. For those who don't embody this spiritual channeling, downloading, or these types of experiences, the difference will be being presented, let me think of the right word, physical, so out there in the world or in your day-to-day relationships, work, okay, and thoughts of where you're at, of what's going on, of how far you've come or not come. So that's where with spiritual, mystic experiences, you will have more of your clairs active alongside you expanding. As we move into the future, our new stories, here I bring to you Peter Pan, Lost Boys, Wendy. Pinocchio on the island with all the people on the island turning into donkeys. Pinocchio hitting rock bottom. Really, Pinocchio, you didn't have to hit rock bottom. I am presence, light body activation, accessing the divine within. So Pinocchio, for example, he became, I'm alive at the end, but we don't know if then he said, I'm alive now. Or if he actually learned to be his real self. And then they move out of the dysregulated nervous system. They know how to protect the future, not because we're more special and not because we're going to make too much fun of Chicken Little. We all can have fear, unhealthy, mind, panic attacks. I'm going to die. I have a little rat. I'm going to die. It gets easier over time to work with your temperament, your personality patterns, and that which is yourself securely, and then to share it with others. So we have relational integrity. We know our affect. We know how to wield our effective realism, our volume. We discern it. And that's why suffering is a cliche sentence, and it's a fallback loop narrative for those who, instead of doing the work with a good therapist and then continuing personal growth and spiritual growth to do what's good by them. Okay, so you do what's good by you when you are, like Hippocrates points out, a wise man or woman or they who knows health is number 1. Mental, emotional, and that's how integration works. So embodied brains don't get stupider. We know what the sword of light and the truth are. Divine protection, cords cut, breakthrough energy. We don't need to cut cords. There's no need to cut cords. In fact, actually, I laugh when I hear the cutting cords because it's a big ball of energy. Technically, we're all a part of it, so why are you cutting cords? What happened? Are you afraid of some frequency? I've had someone in my sphere before. I'm like laughing about that. I was like, what do you think you're going to get? As each of you will get whatever it is you think you're getting. The mouth is not mine, so you don't really know what Maria has. You just know what you're going to interpret. And that's the part of why Arcturian light codes, evolutionary downloads, recalling power, future thinking. So when some people can't handle that we don't know what the future is yet, some of us are like, yeah, well, it's kind of in the making. Okay, so this beautiful, right here, heart-centered. This makes me think of the 5D collective, and let me move forward. So we are ventral pivoters. We don't suffer life, or some who will have suffered life. Let me give you these 5, the SMART framework for you to use. Okay, so stable. Can you remain grounded while evaluating the thought of life is always going to be hard, life is suffering, never-ending suffering, no matter what I do, suffering is here. I personally don't have that, but that's because everything happens for a reason. Every action has a reaction. Everything that's meant to come always finds its way to come. And my good Christian Catholic foundation with a self-agent, so I didn't lose integrity. Not self, not relational, okay? And that's the part of why I said yes to Jesus and Holy Spirit and God with my confirmation. And so the lovely first light body experience was that one. Aligned with purpose, crossroads, no wrong path, Akashic Stargate. And here's why the 3D, 4D, it's not about right or wrong. They actively won't be living the same subjective reality because life is suffering no matter what you do until you die. That's a fallback loop. It's a minimum energy mode. You're doubling down on distress. You got some story going on. You're collapsed and your nervous system is. You need someone to support you to get resilience, the good kind, and then you need to decide if you want to work on more resilience or not. And it's not because you have to. No, ego, you don't have to. But when you get upset because you just want the world to be fair and right, you have another story for you of an emotionally immature version, which is okay because, again, I know when I get afraid, it's like I really want it to feel safe. That's the whole point. Our anticipator machine really wants it to be safe. And so we will work based on our nervous system, and that is where the Earth Star activation, anchoring, grounded action, Isis energy. And this is a beautiful also depiction. Here we have grounded, and you know how many people misinterpret based on ancient news these lovely tarot cards where they think it's all bullshit. So anyways, the sword of truth. It's okay when people make fun of our mysticism. It's not something that I actually think is. So when I see some who take offense, I'm like, dude, not everybody's going to have the fun ride of being a mystic or spiritual. But I also like that scientists are explaining to us clairs and our embodied brain and the intelligence sphere, and so curiosity, no wrong paths. We have spiritual science. The ones who don't move into the present, they have a challenge with their own story as a human, which is the only reason they would. Why would you think we need external forces to come in to have us get along? So you obviously don't believe in the power of relationships and of humanity to come together. That's too bad for those who don't believe in it. Their subjective belief comes from how they feel life, which will have stemmed from their own childhood and or adolescent and or some event. But the point is they're bringing to us their felt belief. Once you will, it is right, it feels right. We all have feels. The core wounds, healable, unless you're carrying them down with a baton, which is what a bunch of people are doing. So when I look at our lovely human species, I support personal growth, spiritual growth with PayHip, those resources, the tools with mentorship. Join Substack, we have that. We have paid podcast content. We have one that has a 3 episodes for working with anger. I'm going to probably make some more for the paid content. It's going to be a folder that gets added to over time. I'll keep you posted on that. But spiritual acceleration, progress, technology, memories of Atlantis. In fact, there was something about Atlantis that came through, even though the reason I don't always share these messages is because I'm supporting people on their growth. I'm not really sure why they would need to hear about these specifics, but I'll sit with them when the time comes. Okay, so as I said, stable, can you remain grounded while evaluating the thought of life is suffering, life is hard, life is this, life is that. Mature, are you taking responsibility for your interpretation of suffering? So do you notice your activated states, your charges, your nervous system, or not? Some people don't want that responsibility. Don't come talk to me about evil and justice and da-da. No, come talk to me about whatever you want, but I'm going to understand that you don't have the eustress and the stamina that requires, because minimum energy mode is a person who's doubling down on their, so while they think that they're doing us a favor, they're actually going to be using, unfortunately, yeah, it's a sad story is what I'm trying to get to. Today we all have attachment trauma education. If someone is smart, they will make sure that they are abundance energy mode before they die, because they will want to do what's best by them. If, on the other hand, they are okay with stopping their progress, I've had people tell me they've stopped therapy, they don't do personal growth or spiritual growth, they don't need any of it. They only did it when they've hit rock bottom, when they needed it the most. So pain was their only motivator, their only driver. And then for the ones who just follow each other around and become groupies, well, you know, at least they have a community. But here's where that's not really our higher potential. That's mediocre. And some people are okay with that. And that shows a nervous system that is in a state of collapse, overwhelm. I don't want to do more, which I understand again, but it's a feeling that comes with a thought. And the thought is the story. And the story is not objective. It's a subjective phrase that is a narrative, which is a fallback loop that those who don't want to do what the choo-choo train did, some people will actually do something that is in a completely, let me think. I'm going to pause that one for a minute and finish reading first. Adaptable. Is this belief keeping you rigid or allowing you to navigate change? If you're thinking life is hard or suffering, it's not going to bring you to open up, because your body's protecting you. The thing is, your body, your embodied brain, is going to protect you, which is why it's sad when someone's like, oh, my mind tricks me. Your mind has thoughts. Your brain protects you. The patterns you see is based on the brain. So if you really want access to the fire, your entire intuition, in the healthy way, you're going to want to get a hold of all of that which is charged, discern it, and learn how to master it. Once you're a master of your embodied brain, you're a master of your fire, your air, your earth, your water, your Akash space, and you're in connectedness. And this is amazing. Or the soul, or the self, if you're not into the soul and self. Okay, so the divine matrix. Yes, interconnectedness, synchronicity, God incidences. We didn't need the 5 waves of twin flames to dismantle the matrix. Nothing's been dismantled. What's happened is we've gained knowledge. Thanks to internet, we have more knowledge. Good knowledge like Neil deGrasse. And then we have a bunch of other stuff. I'm included in the other stuff. But out of that other stuff, we have a bunch of stuff that's keeping people limited. So when I heard about a museum that doesn't talk to you about Darwinism, but instead gives you a story, I say, wow, okay, so I guess you're going to join the group that we're respecting, who doesn't take their children to hospitals, and who one day, when the earth will be, okay, the sun is a star, we're going to have to go respectfully and ask, since we respect your beliefs as they are cherishable, but you don't want to be grounded in the reality of the, okay, the book from yesterday isn't what God is, but I guess there's no convincing you. The children you say you love, could we take them off the planet, or do you prefer that you all die horribly? This is how, in my brain, as a rational human being who is of God, who is of spirit, I'm like, this is ridiculous. We need more of those who are of spirit and source, who's like, okay, science exists for a reason, and that's like our keeping us grounded. They can make fun of us, but please, yeah, we can respect everybody. But are you done with the divisiveness of the spiritual community? For those who are keeping their stories so locked in, it's like, okay, that's really unnecessary. We already have scientists who are doing this shit to each other. Okay, so let's move forward. Seraphim's Gateway, voice activation, angelic attunement, divine support. We support each other through the messages. In fact, actually, those who will be here are all ventral pivoters, 3-year-olds. You want wholeness, aliveness. You're not going to give up on ascending, expanding, and being who you are, being yourself the smart way. Rational. Does this belief align with your current reality or a past survival script? Or really, is it just a sentence that people bring up all the time and you use it too? Disengage from using it, or explore it and then figure it out. But the word suffering in and of itself already tells your body that you're suffering. So you're doubling down on something versus allowing yourself to, why am I suffering? Oh, this, okay, this, So naming it is important, but accentuating it is not actually how you're going to process it. And that's the part of why coming together, harmony in the heavens, resolution, Pleiadian activation. Those who make it out to be a battle between good and evil, since the moment I was a mystic, I'm like, okay, no, there's not this. There's higher frequency, lower frequency. Now it's science. It's very clear when I'm embodying those. No, when I see those who are embodying a survival mode, they're not embodying any evil frequency. It's this, and because the dark sides of neuroplasticity works a very specific way, and you're actually reactive when you're not learning to train your pause, and you're not learning to discern your effective realism, and you're not learning to discern if something's going down, well, I have news for you. That's why whatever liberates our spirit without also giving us mastery over ourselves is destructive. Thank you, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. People who don't tell you you're an embodied brain, you're human, and if you're going to become happy in life, it's going to begin from your nervous system. Once you are all of your child parts, and that's why, as Patrick Chan points out, you don't have to forgive anyone, but you ain't going to heal in Boca Raton. And so spiritual bypassers as well as somatic bypassers, they don't go to therapy, but they do follow around a bunch of people who criticize the good therapist. Clarity and organization, a tidy house. Your house is this embodied brain, and your house began with your home. And there are those who, I think it was this is not Frank Anderson, this is an astrologist, I forget his name, who says there are those who will reminisce about the times when they were child, even if they were getting beat up, alcoholic parent, whatever it was, but they'll think of the time that was because they're not handling what the present is. Okay, so the dark side of neuroplasticity is not fun. And when people hide away from what is going on, it's not going to be something that they actually move out of, which is why slow and steady leads the race. Here's our lovely turtle, and fly like an eagle to the sky. So, teachable. What is this suffering attempting to teach you about your current alignment? And really, how are you going to make, like Charlotte's web, a web of your own dreams and make them into reality? You will be able to manifest, meaning, as Louis Pasteur presents, prepared mind is that which, I forget, how's the sentence? It was something about the prepared mind is what chance favors a prepared mind. So it's not just random. When you get to achieve that which is a stable, resilient, headstrong, your own very empowered divine masculine father, and that's where God, always protective, discerning, he's always chiming in. So when I perceive his presence, I'm like, oh, this is a protective, very smart. It's not having to be a man. Okay, but for those who think of the feminine, she's here too. Yes, Gaia, there's her energy. Then Akash, oh my God. That one's like a complete, the cosmos. Fiery, guardian of family, a tribe, activism, ritual. I know we've had these before, but that's how the themes work. Reliable, democratic, fearless. This one, when out of balance, is judgmental and dominating. The elk, when it's out of balance, is pretentious, high, and mighty. Okay, so remember that those who are not their whole self, they tend to have a group, and then they tend to be in their we're right, they're wrong. And so when it comes to suffering, I understand the people who are using it. Still, I'm going to say I'll respect those who will choose it. You'll probably respect them too if you're on the journey like we are, and we won't be saying we told you so or you have to do this or that. But I do know that life is the way we feel it, and the way you will feel life is then also the way that you will be able to affect all of that which is around you. So mental clarity is important because emotional mastery comes thanks to you being able to maintain relational integrity. And so with objective reality in the forefront, mystic, spiritual, and mindful, you'll be able to know when you do the ventral pivot and being yourself a smart way, stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable, you are supporting humanity, everyone around you and beyond. But above all, you're also doing something tangible with whatever work you're doing. And so everybody has a different soul's purpose. My soul's purpose is to support you to be yourself, fulfilled, the smart way, stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. Check out PayHip for the resources and for spiritual resources, tools. We will have some of that, just not yet. Although these types of readings and channeled messages, as I organize them, I will look to potentially create a list and let you in on if they're going to be added to the paid podcast subscriber section or Substack. But for now, I'm focusing on our personal growth primarily, and I like to pivot So from time to time, I make changes and I keep you all posted. So if you're new, don't worry, I'll be announcing. Also, subscribe if you want, of course, that will keep you notified. Thanks for stopping by and have a wonderful full moon.